to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. It is a Wednesday afternoon, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And again, I'm a couple days late. It was a holiday weekend, whatnot, and I got busy doing nothing. I'm just kind of lazy is what I am, just kind of lazy. But it doesn't matter. I'm back now, so no worries. And I'll try to get another one out this weekend. We've been kind of busy around here with the holidays, with everything that's going on. I've got a daughter that's getting ready to have a baby in the next little while, and she's getting close to her due date, and so everyone's getting ready for that. We had Memorial Day. I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day, was able to get out and barbecue, camp, spend time with families, with your families, just take time to remember what Memorial Day was all about. Here I am. Memorial Day is done and over, and I am talking about Memorial Day now. I didn't talk about it beforehand, but here I am. So anyhow, I hope everyone had a good and safe holiday. What do I got going on here? Well, I actually had a permit class on Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, and it was a good class. I had a pretty good turnout, in spite of it being a holiday. A pretty good turnout, and I think we had 8 or 9 students in the class, I like big classes, but I really like having small classes as well. It's a great time. James came or Magnum, whatever you know him by, he came out and he helped, and it was a great class. A bunch of really good shooters, and with the small classes like that, it's kind of fun because they are required to shoot a certain amount of rounds for their permit. And with the small group, we can do a lot different things. Instead of just shooting at paper, we slow it way down at the very end. We have everyone save about, 30 rounds, and we actually shoot steel. And that's always a lot of fun for everyone. And what we ended up doing in this class was everyone had their different guns. And if you wanted to try a gun and someone was going to, would let you use it, you could shoot their gun. We kind of switched ammo around back and forth and just had a good time. It was a great afternoon. The weather turned out to be absolutely perfect. So not many more of those nice permit class days, weather days coming. I think we're fixing to get real hot real quick. So let me look here and see what else I've got going on here, what else I've done since we talked last. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat here, man. It's allergies in Idaho. I know that's always the excuse, but it's every couple weeks or so, something blooms and it affects me. So I've been, for all those who don't know, right? I know we've got some new listeners that reached out, by the way, and I will try to shout you guys out a little bit later. But just for all the new listeners and those of you who don't know, I actually have 5 kids. My 3 oldest daughters have since moved on, and they're married now, and they have kids of their own. I've got my oldest boy is 17 years old, and then I've got my youngest boy, which is 9. And my 9-year-old wants to start hunting. I think he's going to start hunting this year. And so we've been out, he's shot before, but we've been out putting in some time a couple times a week with his little 22 single shot, cricket rifle. And I'm telling you, this kid, we talk about this kid, my son, all the time. Like he's so each one of my kids is, their own individual person, right? And they have their differences and this and that. But this, Trig, that's his name, Trig. He is a rule follower. Like it stresses him out if he doesn't have a rule to follow, and he will follow those rules to the T exactly. I mean, just exactly. And he wants to know that he's doing it absolutely correctly. Wicked smart little kid. Even his teachers like he's like, testing way out of his grade level and all this stuff. So when we go out and shoot, right, we teach him, I teach him the gun safety rules, and I teach him how to do it. And I teach him how to hold the 22. Right now, if you guys are on the Facebook page, the Patriot Defense Facebook page, you can see that he is resting it across the table, I think on one of my sweatshirts, right? And he can recite the gun, safety rules to you, which a lot of people can. But when this kid shoots, he is very precise, breaks things down. And I'm going to tell you right now, as he sits there and shoots, and we're pretty close, so I'll be honest, so we're going to move him back a little bit, but you got to start somewhere. The kid is just stacking these 22 rounds in the center of this bullseye. And if he gets one that is even just a smidge outside of where he wants it to, it irritates him. He's like, how do I fix it, Dad? How do I fix it? What do I need to do? Oh, I jerked the trigger. Oh, I did this. Oh, I'm going to move my hand over here, and I'm going to do this. This kid is so crazy about trying to do this perfectly. It's just fun. I just sit there, I set up everything, and I'm there to make sure he does everything safe. Eye pro, ear pro, that kind of stuff. And I just sit there and take pictures of him and answer his questions and critique where I need to, which isn't very often because he's such a rule follower. He's so precise in his actions. And he shoots that thing really, really good. I think this weekend when we get him back out there, I'm going to move him back away from the target about twice as much as, double the distance. And granted, he's not shooting a scope or anything. If you guys are familiar with these little single-shot cricket 22 long rifles, it's a blast even for me to shoot, even though it's really short. And it has a peep sight, which in my mind, peep sights are horrible, right? They're horrible. I don't think you can be as precise, I don't think, with a peep sight as you can with even just regular iron sights. But he is, man. He's doing well with it. And so we're going to move him back and see if he can keep up the accuracy as we move him back. And I honestly think he'll do a great job with that. I was kind of looking at my safe the other day because he's 9. He's not that big of a kid, right? He's not a thick kid. He's not super strong. He's just a 9-year-old boy, and like I said, he's not real big for his age. And I'm looking at my rifles, and typically what I've done when I've taken my other kids out hunting for their first time, I've got a 243 in there, and then I've got a 7mm odd 8, and even that 243 is going to rock his world. And it's way too heavy for him to shoot, even in youth configuration. As far as way too heavy for him to hold, And so what I've done for my other kids is taught them how to shoot, and then we just got like a bipod or like a monopod type thing, right? Shooting sticks. And when we go hunting, if I couldn't get them prone, on some deer or whatever game we were hunting at that time, I would just pull out my little extendable shooting sticks, and I would actually kind of hold that for them and help them, and we'd practice here at home first, and they'd set the rifle on the shooting sticks, and they were able to shoot off those sticks. So we're probably going to do something like that, but even a 243 I think is going to just wallop him. And, Idaho regulations, I got to double check them because it's been a few years since I've looked, but Idaho regulations, like when you're hunting deer, obviously I wouldn't take it to hunt elk necessarily with it. It's all about shot placement. But he can hunt, I believe, a big game animal. He can hunt deer with a 223. Now, before, if you are a resident of the state of Idaho and you look that up and prove me wrong, that's fine. Prove me wrong. It's been a few years since my kid was young enough, I had my kid young enough to go hunting for the first time, and they may have changed that, but I believe he is set. He can go hunting with that. So I have a brand new, which I've only shot at maybe a dozen times, a brand new AR-15. I got the Springfield Armory, what was it? The Springfield Armory, I can't even think now what it was. Not the cross. That's something else. That's Sig Cross. Springfield. I can't even remember. Anyhow, I posted about it like, oh gosh. Now. I can't leave you guys hanging here. I need someone else here to like help fill the. God, I'm not good at rifles. I know handguns. To help fill the dead air here. Let me see. AR-15. I got to give you guys the right name. You guys are probably screaming right now, the Saint, Saint Victory. And so I've got that rifle, and he shot it before. He shot it off a rest, and he did okay with it. And I think the only thing to make it good for legal in the state of Idaho, so I got to get a really small mag for it. So I will look to doing that. And then I got to looking at it. I'm like, that sucker needs a scope on it, Todd, right? And it's summertime and there's a lot of stuff going on, and I am trying to. It's funds are tight a little bit. So I'm trying to save a buck here, right? Because kids are funny. You buy them clothes that fit them, and you go out and you spend a lot of money on these clothes that'll fit them, and then what do? Like 6 months later, they don't fit in these clothes anymore. So I've got scopes on the 243. I've got a scope on the 7mm Mod 8, and they're nice scopes. They're Vortex scopes. And so I think I'm just going to go buy me a set of rings that'll mount onto the AR-15. And I think I'm just going to switch one of those scopes from one of those rifles over to the AR-15. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to rob the one off the 243. That's what I think I do. Just in case my oldest son, in case he wants to go hunting this year, he can hunt with my 270, or he can actually hunt with the 7mm Mod 8. And I think that's the route I'm going. Not that you guys wanted to know any of that, but I think that's the route that I'm going to go. Go buy some scope mounts, get it mounted on that rifle, and then after a couple more weeks of shooting this 22, I may put him on that rifle once I get the scope, and we'll teach him. I'll teach him about scopes and how that stuff works. So I'm looking forward to it. It's been my oldest is 17, man. It's been a few years since I've done this, and so for one of my kids, taking them out on their first hunt. Now he's gone with us before. He wasn't hunting; he was just kind of there, traipsing through the sagebrush with us. And of course, we didn't find anything. But he's gone out on a hunt, but he hasn't actually gone hunting himself. So I'm really looking forward to making those memories with him. So that'll be something for me to look forward to. I will say I'm gonna speak on this because I'm on Facebook and I don't run around, and I used to make some videos, and videos are hard to make, and I need to make some more, and sometimes I try to put some important type stuff on my social media pages, but and I advertise classes there and whatnot, but I put a lot of different memes up there, and even in class, and I don't want to make people feel bad, but I have a good time in class. We joke around. We have a good time. And I pick on guns. I pick on Glocks. I pick on SIGs. I pick on myself. I pick on 1911s. I pick on calibers. It is what it is. I'm not making fun of anyone. Shoot what you want to shoot. It doesn't matter to me. I'll help you either way. And I don't just totally degrade someone by the choice of firearm they bring. I've never done that. I will say that this last permit class had a bunch of Glocks in it. About over half the class was probably, half the students there had Glock handguns. And I made a few jokes, just in jest, and I made fun of myself, and everyone laughed and had a good time, and I don't think I bothered anyone. I literally will tell them, hey, I'm just having a good time. It is what it is, man. And I will say the people that brought the Glocks, there's a couple of guys that were pretty new, and they had brand new Glocks, shot them absolutely fantastic. Great shots, right? Great shots. So if you were in that class, or if you follow me on social media, or even listen to this podcast, obviously, if you heard me say that, you're listening to the podcast, I pick on absolutely everything. When I do a podcast with other people, have my buddies joining, my co-hosts, which hasn't happened in quite a while. We make fun of each other. We make fun of handguns. It is what it is, right? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not making fun of. I'm just teasing you. I'm just giving you a hard time. And I expect for students and anyone else to just give it right back to me. And they do, and we have a great time. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you've ever taken a class, and if it's just individual, if I'm just individual, like, it's one-on-one class, private class, and you show, I'm not going to give you a hard time about your handgun. But, when I'm making small talk, we're having fun on the range, we're in the classroom, it's just joking. Like, that's all it is. That's all. I'm just having a good time. And I hope everyone sees that, right? I don't want to be a stick in the mud. I don't want to just be super, stiff and boring, right? We're going to have a good time. And that's what I would want. If, when I go to take a class, that's what I want. I don't want some militant in there just, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's the. I want to have a good, enjoyable, safe time, but a good and enjoyable time to where I would want to come back. So I run my classes the way I would want a class ren that I attended. So just know that going into it. So a couple things I did see in the last couple weeks, actually, that I wanted to mention. You know, we have all different sizes of firearms now, right? You got large, full frame, you got subcompact and subcompact. You got all kinds of compact, subcompact, little teeny tiny guns. And here's what I want to say. I know the little ones, right? The little ones can be easy to carry, but a lot of people don't understand the recoil that comes with the little ones or the horrible triggers that come on the small guns, okay? Now, if you do and you're okay with it, that's absolutely fine. But why do people carry small guns? Because it's more comfortable. That's what they say, right? First of all, let's look at this. It gets to a point where if you're a small-framed individual and you have small hands, there are guns out there to fit you. And those usually are small guns, and that's fine. But if you're, I won't even say average size, because what is average anymore, right? But if you are a larger individual, like larger frame, maybe you're 6'3", maybe you're 6'2", big guy, big person, right? And you can conceal a larger sized firearm, right? And you've got these massive hands. Why are you carrying a little tiny gun? Those are hard to shoot. To the fact that if you've got really large hands, I want to say a smaller handgun like that, is more dangerous for you to shoot, right? Get something that you can shoot well, something that fits you. That's the key here. If you're going to carry a firearm, get a firearm that fits you, one that you're going to be able to manipulate with your hands. Like if you go to grip the gun correctly and your thumb is sticking out past the barrel of the gun because it's such a small gun and because you got such huge, mitts on you, right? That's not the gun for you. Get a gun that fits your hands. You can carry a bigger gun. If it's that big of a deal that you don't want to carry a larger gun because it is uncomfortable, and so you carry these little tiny guns that honestly you can't really safely shoot because you can't get a grip on it, right? Then maybe you shouldn't carry a firearm or figure out something. It's just like if I had a very small framed shooter, a petite shooter, right? I'm going to pick on women. I'm not picking on them, but they come to mind. Little tiny hands, not a very big statured person at all. And they showed up with this absolutely massive gun that they couldn't get the proper grip on. If they grip properly, here's what I see. If they grip the gun properly, they can't even reach the trigger with their trigger finger without breaking their grip and then thus not gripping the gun correctly, right? That's not the gun for them. And the same way goes with the big guys, with the big person, the large people with the big hands. It's not even a large person, but if you got massive hands and you can barely fit your finger into the trigger guard to get that gun is not for you. I mean, I got pretty decent sized hands. They're not as big as some of the ones that I've seen come through class. But I mean, even on the smaller gun or a semi-small gun, like I have to break my grip to do things like release the magazine and whatnot. I just don't like shooting those. I steer away from them, and I'm going to shoot something that I'm really comfortable with, that I can run, that I can shoot well, that I don't have to struggle and fumble with. That's what I need to. That's what I need to carry, and that's what you need to carry as well. Carrying a gun is a big decision. It's a big responsibility. Carry one that you can shoot, the one that you can shoot well, one that fits you. If you just don't really want to carry a gun, but here's what I'm going to say. It's going to make zero sense. If you want to carry a gun and you go to purchase one and you want to carry a gun, but you don't really want to carry a gun, don't just go buy some super small thing that doesn't fit you because you're going to carry, but you don't really want to carry. If you don't really want to carry a gun, don't really carry a gun. Now, if you want to carry a gun, go get a gun that fits you, one that's comfortable, one that's made to fit your hands, and get a good holster to go with it and the training, and let's carry this gun properly and let's do it correctly and everything will go well. There is no excuse to show up, there's no excuse to carry a gun that does not fit your hands right now. There are so many different size handguns out there, massive handguns to little teeny tiny handguns that, they're made to fit, and everything in between. find one that fits you, and let's do this responsibly. My thoughts is if you got a gun that does not fit you, whether it be big hands, small gun, or small hands, big gun, that you cannot manipulate correctly, that you cannot manipulate efficiently and safely, that's not the way to go. Just don't carry a gun at that point. Let's be responsible. Let's learn how to manipulate these firearms and shoot them well. Let's be responsible. Okay, that's where I've seen a lot over the last 10 years. And this is something that just like, find a gun that fits your hand. Find a gun that fits you. Know that if in your mind it is dangerous enough out there, which I carry every day, so I'm not picking on you. If you feel like you want to exercise your Second Amendment rights and you feel like you need to carry a gun, be responsible all the way around. Know that it's going to be a sacrifice. Know that there's going to be a sacrifice. That it's going to be slightly uncomfortable, that maybe bending over might be a problem, and you need to figure that out, that you need to do things a little differently. That's the way it needs to be done. So, okay, well, I'm going to jump off that soapbox, and I want to get to a couple different things. First of all, I was perusing through Facebook, and sometimes I just go ahead, and I don't shut Facebook off, but I don't always follow the news stories. And I know that there's a listener out there, a buddy of mine by the name of Nathan. Nathan's been with me, by the way, from the very, very, very beginning. I need to get Nathan on the podcast. I know we've talked about it before. He doesn't live here. And we just got to make it happen. And I know he kind of works some different hours, works at night and some different things. So we got to make this happen. But Nathan was with me back at the very, very, very beginning, before I even had my business, before I even had the podcast, any of this. I had started a Facebook page called Life with a Gun. We called it LWAG. Okay, it's probably, they may have taken it down. I never did remove it, but it may be up there, or they may have taken it down already. But anyhow, I started that, and Nathan, I got him on as one of my admin on that. And so he's been around. He's known me for quite a long time. I mean, and he's actually come down and shot with me before and whatnot. So, in fact, Nathan, we talked about you and your boys coming down and taking a class sometime this summer. And I told you I would spot you a class. So just let me know next time you're in the neighborhood, and we'll see if we can put that together. So anyhow, I saw he posted up something about New Jersey. And New Jersey, the biggest gun grab ever. So I did a little research, and I found some very long audio clips to play. And so I'll play them, and if I get tired of them, I might cut them off and I'll talk. But yeah, New Jersey is going all the way now. They're going all the way, and they have this huge gun grab, and it goes into the point where, and this is going to go into details, where they want anything that is non-serialized. They're going to come after your BB guns. They're going to come after absolutely everything. So I'll give that a play. Here you go.
Last summer, there was this phenomenon. It was called the post-Bruin tantrum, and this is when predominantly blue states had an absolute tissy fit over the holdings of New York Pistol and Rifle Association v. Bruin, and went out and basically went and ensured that they passed even more oppressive, more unconstitutional laws than the ones that were previously struck down. New Jersey was no exception, and they made several amendments to a lot of their gun laws, including amendments to New Jersey Statute 2C 39-3. What is that? That is the laundry list of all the prohibited firearms in the state of New Jersey. And what the state of New Jersey wanted to do was to rid them from the scourge of ghost guns. Now, the federal government calls them privately made firearms. We call them in Washington State untraceable firearms, and in New Jersey, you all call it ghost guns, okay? And they wanted to make sure that no firearm without a serial number would ever be in circulation again in the state of New Jersey. The problem is they didn't really think this thing through. The other problem is that New Jersey has this ungodly broad definition of what constitutes a firearm, okay? In Washington State, unless there's an explosion going on in the chamber that sends the round down the barrel, that is the only type of definition of firearm we have. New Jersey, we're talking pellet guns, BB guns, air rifles, all sorts of things that are also encapsulated, including antiques, black powder, muzzle loaders, things like that. All of that is included, and therein lies the problem here. Now, the newly added section to the statute, which governs untraceable, unserialized, ghost firearms, now reads as follows. Any person who knowingly possesses a firearm manufactured or otherwise assembled using a firearm frame or firearm receiver as defined in subsection K of New Jersey Statute 2C39-9, which is not imprinted with a serial number registered with a federally licensed manufacturer, including, but not limited to, a firearm manufacturer or otherwise assembled from parts purchased or otherwise obtained in violation of subsection K of New Jersey Statute 2C-39-9, is guilty of a crime in the third degree. Okay. So if you possess any firearm which does not have a serial number that was put there by a federal firearms manufacturer, then that firearm is unlawful. Okay, you follow? So if it doesn't have a serial number, and even if it does have a serial number, but it wasn't put there by a United States licensed federal firearms manufacturer, that firearm is unlawful, okay? So what does that mean, New Jersey? What it means is that there are a lot of firearms, many of which you thought were in lawful possession, that are now unlawful under New Jersey law. Take, for example, any firearm that you may own that was manufactured before 1968. There was no federal requirement to put serial numbers on any firearm before 1968. Oh, any foreign-made or imported firearms, because even if they do have a serial number, the likelihood that that serial number was placed there by a United States federally licensed firearms manufacturer is incredibly remote. So you have some very good overseas international manufacturers, but unless they've been licensed by the United States, that does not count. Oh, here's one. BB guns. And you're like, oh, that's okay, my BB gun has a serial number. Well, first of all, yes, BB guns do constitute firearms under New Jersey law, thus again evidencing that overexpansive definition that creates part of the problem. But here's the other thing. Whether Red Ryder, Daisy, somebody else put a serial number on that, yeah, guess what? They don't make real firearms, therefore they are not a federally licensed firearms manufacturer. That serial number doesn't count. That firearm, if you have a Red Ryder BB gun sitting in your kid's closet right now, you may be a felon. Oh, any muzzle loaders or black powder devices that don't have serial numbers, which constitutes a large majority of them, yep, those constitute firearms under New Jersey law. They now don't have a serial number. Even if they do, I doubt it was put there by a federally licensed firearms manufacturer. Those firearms are unlawful. Oh, and any antique firearm that you may have inherited from your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, family heirlooms that go back hundreds of years. Yeah, there's not a serial number on it. That can be subject to criminal liability as well. Now remember, if you are in violation of this law and you are convicted of it, you are facing up to 5 years in prison and a $15,000 fine according to New Jersey law. But if you actually deal, import, or sell one of these prohibited items, well, then you are looking at up to 15 years in prison and a $150,000 fine. And this is the exact thing that happens when people who are writing your gun laws know nothing about guns. Do I believe that this was the intent of the New Jersey Assembly? Probably not. Now, it is New Jersey, and they very well could have, and certainly there are members of the New Jersey Assembly who've made it very well known how much they have a desire to disarm all lawful and responsible citizens. But no, I think that this was probably created through stupidity more than it was through evil, but the problem is still the same. The effect for the lawful and responsible gun-owning folks in New Jersey is still the same, and this is a problem that the state legislature is likely not going to fix. How this plays out will be very interesting. Hopefully New Jersey will go back and redefine and clarify this statute and avoid some of these absurdities. But for those of you in New Jersey who own a firearm that fall under the purview of this law, you need to be aware of it. Listen.
Scary days that we live in. I mean, we've talked about it. And granted, this is just one state. By the way, I always like to give credit, where credit is due. That is actually off of YouTube. It's off of a YouTube channel called Washington Gun Law. And that gentleman obviously is an attorney. And I would check out, he's got really good analysis and breakdowns of all the laws that come our way. I would check him out for sure. But, we look at that and we look at that. That is crazy. Like, you're going, this is set up. Was it on purpose? Was it because they really didn't know? Right? I don't know. It's a setup to come after your BB guns. Your BB guns. Anything that doesn't have a serial number that was made, that was created by an FFL of some sort. So BB guns, pellet guns. I look at your 80% lowers, all that stuff. Anything that is not serialized they're going to immediately create a whole bunch of felons, a whole bunch of people doing bad things, right? And the fines are steep, and there's jail time involved. They want it all, folks. They want it all. And I guarantee you that if your federal government thought they could get away with something like this, they definitely would. Now, I'm sure this will be, challenged in court, all this stuff, right? But this is, if this goes through, it's going to be the largest sweeping, biggest gun grab ever. And that leads me to sorry about my mic there. That leads me to my next clip, and this is a clip for Coulion Noir. Check his channel out. He does some good stuff as well. I get lots of information off of him, and these people kind of gather the stuff, and then I kind of take their clips and then we discuss them. But people say this could not happen here. This is not going to happen here. This will never happen here. Honestly, I don't know that they're going to go door to door, but honestly, obviously it can, right? They want this to happen. And Coulion goes in and talks about what happened, or actually he talks about something that Obama has said recently. Yeah, he's still in the picture for some unknown reason. I guess people still hang on what that man says, but it goes off of something that he said in an interview. And then we base it off of what Australia has done. And I'll be honest with you. I graduated high school in 1994, and this kind of blew my mind. Like, I knew what happened in Australia, but I guess I just didn't know when it happened. It happened in like 1996. And I know you can't see the video. I watched the video. This happened in 1996. And then it goes from what happened in Australia to what happened in Canada, and where it started in Canada, and where that prime minister said one thing at one point: we won't come after the guns. That's ingrained in everyone's whatever. 10 years later, he came after the guns. Then a few years later, he came after some more guns. And then a few years later, he's trying to get even more guns. And he'll go into this. Let me just play the audio clip because I do a horrible job of explaining it. Here you go.
In Australia, you had one mass shooting 50 years ago, and they said, oh, we're not doing that anymore. That is normally how you would expect a society to respond.
Anyone want to take a guess what they did in Australia with the guns?
Just 12 days later, the then Prime Minister John Howard pushed through a sweeping set of gun regulations, despite a lack of support from his rural constituency.
I'm sorry about that, but there is no other way. There is no other way.
Within a month, the government passed the National Firearms Agreement, transforming gun legislation in the country.
The hardest things to do in politics often involve taking away rights and privileges from your own supporters.
The tough new laws banned the sale and importation of all automatic and semi-automatic rifles and shotguns, and perhaps most significantly, called for a massive mandatory gun buyback. Australia's government confiscated and destroyed nearly 700,000 firearms, reducing the number of gun-owning households by half.
People used to say to me, you've violated my human rights by taking away my gun. And I'd say, look, I understand that, but will you please understand the argument? The greatest human right of all is to live a safe life.
New licensing requirements were adopted, and a national firearms registry was established. The law says Australians need a genuine reason for having a firearm, such as sport shooting or for agricultural use. It doesn't include self-defense. People must go through background checks and wait 28 days before they can buy a gun. The government also spent $375 million to buy back 640,000 civilian-owned guns and then destroyed them.
First, there was a mass shooting, then background checks. Then they created a gun registry. Then they banned semi-autos, and then they confiscated them. That is what Obama is using as an example of what he thinks we should be doing here in the U.S., but then tells gun owners that the slippery slope thing is silly. Prime example, take Justin Trudeau. the Prime Minister of Canada. In 2010, this is what he said to a group of people who were making the same arguments we are making right now with respect to these gun control measures being a slippery slope.
Fear in here is that the first step towards registering your guns is just the first step towards taking away guns from everyone. That's never going to happen because here in Canada we have a culture that has grown up with guns and that respects the need to go out into the wilderness and shoot things from time to time.
Now, fast forward to 2020, where he did this.
Effective immediately, it is no longer permitted to buy, sell, transport, import, or use military-grade assault weapons in this country.
Then fast forward again to 2022, where he did this.
Today, our national freeze on handguns is coming into force. From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada.
Oh, it gets worse. Fast forward again to 2023, and he's now trying to ban hunting rifles.
A 32% increase in violent crime, a 90% increase in gang crime. Murder rates now rising again this year, year after year. And what's his solution? To ban Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. In fact, he wants to ban hundreds of thousands of hunting rifles and spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. Why won't he leave hunters alone and go after the real criminals?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very clear that we are not targeting law-abiding hunters and fishers. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to take the necessary measures to keep Canadians safe while respecting the rights of law-abiding Canadians. That's what Canadians expect. That's what we've been doing.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I get my information from the amendment that his government tabled in the committee.
That's right.
And I have it right here. A list of the firearms that he wants to ban includes the Webley and Scott wild fowl gun. Fowl is in wild turkeys and wild ducks. That's right in the list that his government put forward of guns he wants to ban. Mr. Speaker, why is he more concerned with protecting wild turkeys from hunters than he is concerned about protecting Canadians from criminals?
This is literally the same progression that anti-gun politicians and the anti-gun lobby are trying to do in America. It's so blatant now, it's laughable. But it's not really funny because there are so many people that believe these politicians when they say they're not trying to ban guns and that they just want common sense gun measures.
So yeah, I mean, and he's got a point, and it's it's a point that we make over and over and over and over again. I feel like it's just, I just get tired of saying it. I know we all know it, but we got to keep pointing it out. It's there. The model is there. The Australia model is there. The Canadian model is there. We saw what they do. They don't come after him. Well, Australia kind of grabbed them all at once. But Canada just kind of worked it in a little here, a little here, a little there, a little down the road, a little more. And pretty soon they're going to have them all. And that's exactly what we want. And if we look to what New Jersey has just done, and they've issued in this essentially is making everything illegal. You're a felon if you have a pellet gun. You're a felon if you've got some antique rifle that doesn't even shoot, that was handed down to you by your great-great-great-grandpa. If there's no serial number on it, you're a felon. You're a felon. You can't buy them. You can't trade them. You can't sell them. You can't possess them, right? And this is exactly what the government wants. It's, we say it won't happen, but look at everything that's happened. And even the last couple years, 5 years, in the last 10 years, that's not even related, directly to the Second Amendment or your gun rights, stuff that we thought would never happen. I mean, it wasn't but a few years ago where they told everyone, we're going to lock you down. Can't go to work. You got to stay in your house, and you got to wear these stupid masks on your face if you do want to leave your house. And how many people nodded and said, okay? Most of them. That would have been absolutely ridiculous if you would have said 10 years ago that was coming and that people were going to be okay with it. And we say that gun control is not going to happen, but look, crazy stuff has happened in the past, and we just go along with it. So we need to pay attention to it, focus on it, and know that it's there. Know that we know that's what they want. And we have to pay attention to who we put in office and who we vote for. And we have to pass on the traditions of responsible gun ownership and sporting firearms and concealed carry and supporting the Second Amendment to our kids and to those around us who may have not have had that in their lives, right? Who may not have had that in their lives. It's very interesting because people just fall into step like with what the media is, with what the media says. And I'm not picking on my father-in-law. My father-in-law he just turned 90 or 91. He's in his 90s. We'll just say that, right? This dude went and served, and I don't know on what front he served exactly. My wife would know. I would not. I'm not real close with my father-in-law. But here he is. He grew up in Idaho. He went and served. He grew up on a farm. All this stuff, right? Well, he's had a little medical problems, and he was in the hospital the other day. And they know what I do for a living, and he's not anti-gun. But I've talked to him in the past about what I've done, right? And I've actually showed him some handguns and what we were talking. The dude is super unsafe with them. Like, we didn't go out and shoot him, and it wasn't loaded. I know better than that. I hand him a gun. He doesn't check it. He swings it around, finger on the trigger. He's pointing that gun absolutely everywhere like he's never handled one before. And then, as he's in the hospital the other day, and my wife's sitting with him, he says, well, this world is going crazy, and they just need to get rid of those automatic weapons. They need to get those automatic weapons off the street. What automatic weapons are on the street? You watch way too much Fox News. You're watching way too much CNN. I don't know where you're getting your information, but it just goes to show you that here we go. Here we have, he's not a big gun guy, right? But he's down to earth. He's a farmer. He used to farm. You know, he worked hard. He was in the military. But he listens to what the media says. He listens to what the left dictates, and they talk about these assault weapons and automatic rifles that are on the streets, and they're not. We know that that's not what that is. But they put that out there because you get a handful of people. If they can make him believe, and he doesn't vote Democrat from what anything that I've know, right? If they can get him to believe and convince him that there's automatic weapons on the street, the AR-15s are horrible, right? And this is a down-home, down-to-earth Idaho guy, right? Born and bred, right? Then so many other people they just listen to what the media says and they roll with it. And that is going to be our downfall. And so I took that route to tell you, take someone shooting, take a friend shooting, don't degrade them because they don't like firearms. We all have that choice. And you may take someone shooting and help them learn and teach them the safety. And they may think, you know what? Guns still really do scare me. Or shooting's not for me. But at least you've given them a good experience. Don't degrade them. Make it a positive experience. Show them the safety. Answer their questions. Point out how the media is wrong on things. Make it a good time for them. And if they don't ever go back and do it again, that's fine. But at least they know the truth. And if someone wants to be against something, I have no problems with someone being against something. Even if it's against something that I am for, I am fine as long as they can make an educated decision for themselves. I took my daughters all hunting. We all shoot whatever, right? I took them shooting. I took them all hunting. Everyone had to take hunter safety. Everyone had to go hunting. Did I want my daughters to enjoy hunting? Well, yes, I did. Did I want them to fall passionately in love with hunting and that's all they wanted to do? You know, if they did, absolutely fantastic. I'm all for it. At the very least, I wanted to give them that experience so they could make an educated decision by themselves whether or not they were for or against it. My thoughts are, you cannot decide where you stand on something if you haven't experienced both sides. You can't make a decision on something you've never experienced. That's the way I look at that. And if my daughters, when they all shot deer, right? But if they had pulled that gun up, that rifle up, put that deer in their crosshairs and decided that that wasn't for them, they didn't want to press the trigger, that's fine. They don't have to. They went that far. They made that decision. They knew what it felt like, and they decided, this isn't for me. I'm okay with that. If you want to be against firearms, I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean you need to take my rights. Doesn't mean you need to stomp on my rights. But you need to make an educated decision for yourself and not just what the media and the government spoon feeds you. Right? And I'm saying that to my freaking father-in-law at that point. So my wife won't let me argue with the man. He's 90 years old and he's not doing well. And she says I can't have a discussion with him. So there's that. But hey, I appreciate all the listeners on the podcast. Thank you for hanging in there with me. And I wanted to do a shout out. I got a couple people getting a hold of me after my last podcast. This gentleman, he didn't leave a name that I can see, and that's fine. And if he's probably listening, but he said, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. I live in Texas." So shout out to the guy that listens to my podcast in Texas. He actually gave me, let's see, he gave me some information about. I'm looking here. About the 365 macro, and just says he likes that podcast. And he also listens to the Cajun Cowboys podcast, Forgotten American. So check that out. You can find that on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you can find a podcast. You can find Forgotten American. Check it out, and I'll get on him to do another episode here real quick. He gets busy at work. So, and then another listener reached out to me. His name is Tyler Cruz. And I don't know that it says in here without rereading it where he is from, but he just had some more information. I asked a question about the 365 macro for my wife, and he reached out with, gave me his feedback on that since I hadn't actually shot one yet. And so I do appreciate the feedback, guys. Thanks for listening. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends. That is always something that every one of you can do. Share it on social media. Helps the podcast grow. I certainly appreciate it. And you too can reach out to me if you want. You can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. Call me if you want. Most people text me. I prefer text. It's just easier. But yeah, shoot me a text if you got any questions, a story, whatever. You just shoot me a text and say, "Hey, look, I live in Texas. I live in New Hampshire. I live over here. I listen to your podcast. It's great. I don't like it. Go to hell." Whatever you want to do, just do that for me. I would appreciate the feedback and the commentary. It's absolutely fantastic. Until then, I will try to get out this weekend and get you guys another podcast. And thanks for listening. Have a great week. Bye.